Hello and welcome back to BlueHat CyberSec Academy. This is the first lesson of Domain 3 of the Certified in Cybersecurity course. This domain is about access control concepts. It isn't just for exam preparation. It's also perfect for anyone interested in building a strong foundation in the world of cybersecurity. So, in this lesson, we'll cover the following topics. Number 1, security controls. Number 2, controls overview. And number 3, controls assessments. Make sure to watch this video till the end. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and join BlueHat CyberSec Academy. Your path to becoming a cybersecurity professional starts right here. What is security control? A control is a safeguard or countermeasure designed to preserve the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data. This, of course, is the CIA Triad. Access control involves limiting what objects can be available to what subjects according to specific rules. One brief example of a control is a firewall, which is included in a system or network to prevent something from the outside from coming in and disturbing or compromising the environment. The firewall can also prevent information on the inside from going out into the web where it could be viewed or accessed by unauthorized individuals. Now, let's move on to the next topic, which is controls overview. It can be argued that access controls are the heart of an information security program. But in the end, security all comes down to who can get access to organizational assets, buildings, data, systems, and so on, and what they can do when they get access. Access controls are not just about restricting access to information systems and data, but also about allowing access. It is about granting the appropriate level of access to authorized personnel and processes, and denying access to unauthorized functions or individuals. Let's move and discuss the subjects, objects, and rules in access control. Alright, so let's talk about the concept of a subject in access control. A subject can be defined as any entity that requests access to assets. The entity requesting access may be a user, a client, a process, or even a program, for example. Essentially, a subject is the initiator of a request for service, and because of that, a subject is referred to as active. Now, a subject can take on various forms. It could be a user, a process, a procedure, a client or a server, a program, or a device such as an endpoint, workstation, smartphone, or even a removable storage device with onboard firmware. It's active, meaning it initiates a request for access to resources or services, and it requests a service from an object. Importantly, a subject should have a level of clearance, or permissions, that relates to its ability to successfully access services or resources. So, now that we understand the subject, let's move on to the objects in access control. Objects, by definition, are anything that a subject attempts to access. An object can be a device, a process, a person, a user, a program, a server, a client, or really any other entity that responds to a request for service. So, whereas a subject is active and actually initiates a request for service, an object is passive. It doesn't take any action until it's called upon by a subject. When requested, an object will respond to the request it receives, and if the request is wrong, the response might not be what the subject really wanted. It's important to note that, by definition, objects don't contain their own access control logic. Objects are passive, not active, and they really need to be protected from unauthorized access by other layers of functionality in the system, like an integrated identity and access management system. Each object has an owner, and the owner gets to decide who or what should be allowed access to their object. Quite often, the rules for access are recorded in a rule base or an access control list. So, an object can be a building, a computer, a file, a database, a printer or scanner, a server, a communications resource, a block of memory, an input or output port, a person, a software task, a thread, or a process. Basically, it's anything that provides service to a user. Objects are passive, they respond to requests, and they may even have a classification. An access rule is basically an instruction developed to allow or deny access to an object by comparing the validated identity of the subject to an access control list. One example of a rule is a firewall access control list. By default, firewalls deny access from any address to any address on any port. But for a firewall to actually be useful, it needs more rules. For example, a rule might be added to allow access from the inside network to the outside network. In this case, a rule allows access to the object outside network by the subject having the address inside network. In another example, when a user, or subject, tries to access a file, which is the object, a rule validates what level of access, if any, that user should have to that file. To do this, the rule will contain or reference a set of attributes that define what level of access is appropriate. So, a rule can compare multiple attributes to determine appropriate access, allow access to an object, define how much access is allowed, deny access to an object, or even apply time-based access. Now, let's look at how controls are assessed in practice. Risk reduction really depends on how effective the control is. It has to apply to the current situation and be able to adapt to a changing environment. For example, consider a scenario where part of an office building is being repurposed for use as a secure storage facility. Because of the previous use of the area, there are 5 doors that must be secured before confidential files can be stored there. When securing a physical location, there are several things to keep in mind. To keep the information as secure as possible, it might be recommended to install biometric scanners on all doors. A site assessment will help determine if all 5 doors need biometric scanners, or if maybe just 1 or 2 doors need scanners. The remaining doors could be permanently secured, or, if the budget allows, the doors could be removed and replaced with a permanent wall. Most importantly, the cost of implementing the controls has to align with the value of what's being protected. If multiple doors secured by biometric locks aren't necessary, and access to the area doesn't need to be audited, then maybe a simple deadbolt lock on all of the doors will provide the right level of control. That's it for this lesson. Thanks for watching. Don't stop here, keep the learning going, and check out the next video in the series. If you haven't already, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to BlueHat CyberSec Academy.